So, welcome to the first episode of season 2 of ADHT, the podcast, with me, Donna, technical Swan, seemingly, and Tea Sorcerer at Unravel Tea, and Sarah's back.
And me, Sarah, Willie Mama, intuitive empowerment coach, mom of 3, what's his face, and speaker and author.
So, welcome back to ADHT, the podcast, Sarah.
Hey,
After
thank you.
after
Finally back
last
in the land of the living.
Indeed. After I was going to say last week's, but it's not even been a week. Um, After the last episode, which was released on the 31st of January, called Voice Notes ADHD and Sarah is Powerless, where I literally grabbed random voice notes, and yes, we do send each other 10-minute voice notes and longer sometimes, to make a podcast. So that was an interesting experience for me.
I have to applaud your ingenuity there because that was quite a stroke of genius. And I actually look forward to listening to it. So just to give some context to anybody who doesn't understand what Donna meant by me being powerless, she wasn't being a megalomaniac and refusing to let me record. We had literally no power, as in complete darkness for 8 days following Storm Aowen, and then we had no internet for a further, 18 days in total. So that was great fun.
Now she's back. She cannot hide any longer. So this is also the start of season 2, which
Yay.
I'm only now just telling Sarah. She didn't know this before. Yes, so welcome to season 2. I don't really know what that means.
It just means we had a break and now we're back.
True. Yes. Today we will be talking about resilience, sort of dabbling in things and how Sarah's wrong. You'll have to listen to the end to find out about that. So keep on listening. So, Sarah, what is in your cup and what is on your mind today?
I am hesitant to say this, but I'm still on my cold drink vibe. I have been having some dodgy garage coffee because that seems to be like the proper coffee that we make at home doesn't agree with me at the moment. And if you're being very if you're being Inspector Clouseau here, you'll be putting all these bits together and probably coming up with the right answer. But I can drink like garage coffee, which I cringe even saying that. But at the moment, I'm still on my vitamin C orange juice vibe.
I'm just imagining you hiding in your garage drinking coffee now. I know that's not what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, like, what would we say, service station? Would that be more inappropriate than garage for our friends in the States? Garage or services, maybe service station. Yeah, the dodgy machines. It's more milk than coffee, but they seem to be agreeing with me just now. But anything else is just not. And what's on my mind? How I'm much more resilient than I thought I was after the last few weeks. But also how my executive function, I feel like it's completely broken. I'm really happy to be back today because I feel like this will gently bring me back to life again and give me some executive function back because I have none just now. So yeah, what about you, Donna? What's in your cup and what's on your mind?
I can't promise you any bringing of your executive function back. That sounds like a magic thing that needs to happen. What is in my cup today? It is a white tea. I often drink white teas here.
You do.
It is white peony, and I think I've spoken about it before actually, from Sri Lanka. And it's so comforting. And actually, one of my wonderful customers, friends, told me that he tried boiling it. And that's actually the reason why I'm having it, so I can boil the leaves later to see how it goes.
Oh, okay. My brain went to a totally strange place there. 'Cause I was like, don't you need to boil the water to make the tea anyway? You actually need to boil the leaves.
Boil the leaves, yes. So you boil the leaves in the water. Probably not a great idea. This is quite a delicate one. So he did say it's about a minute on boiling.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens. Because, yeah, you can kind of overdo it with some of the more delicate ones. Yeah, I'm curious. I'm curious. And what's on my mind? I am excited to see you back.
Yay, reunited at last.
Yes, I've missed you, not being able to reach out even like voice notes because hey, you might not even get them because your
Exactly.
internet's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know, I was saying that to my husband the other day about how much I missed you. And then I realized how strange that whole scenario actually is because isn't it really weird to miss somebody that you've never physically been in the same room as? I
Mm-hmm.
just it's so bizarre, but yeah, our friendship transcends geography and all those things. But yeah, it's crazy how much a big part of my life that you are and how internet and power facilitates that and how yeah,
Hmm. Yeah,
crazy,
yeah. I
crazy.
mean, just like, if you have power and if you have internet, you just pick up your phone, quick voice note, quick
Mhm,
something.
mhm.
And I was very grateful to be able to do that and that you actually had power by the time that I had a big hiccup, let's go with.
Yeah,
And I'm so, so grateful that you were there because I don't know how I would have navigated it without your perspective,
yeah.
you
I,
know.
I do get it entirely. And I mean, I didn't do anything magical. I listened
She
and
did.
I reflected. I really didn't, but I listened and I reflected back to you from perhaps another angle that maybe at that point you couldn't see or hadn't yet seen.
Mm,
But yeah, it is so, so important to have someone in your life who you can do that with. It's so important. And you, I mean, you do the same for me. I mean, you did it before we, before we even started recording. When I was giving myself all the excuses for all the things, and you're like, yes, but that's also an excuse, and that's really good to have someone who you know loves and respects you enough to say that, and who you love and respect enough to hear it and receive it in the way that it's meant, and actually do something with it. So yeah,
hmm
really good to be back. So I was saying about like mental resilience and all the things. What I realized was having no power was one thing. I'm actually I'm outing myself completely here, but I'm actually quite scared of like storms and things and like losing power. But I think it's because my I don't have very good balance. So what I've realized is my eyesight is a key part of my kind of grounding and balance and all of that sort of stuff. So when that's taken away, I feel completely disorientated. Also, my grandmother made a joke when I was very small that I won't even repeat because it really wasn't funny. I know she meant it in a good way, but it wasn't funny and it traumatized me then every time there's a power cut. But yeah, so I have a real thing about power cuts now and having all that. It's you sort of think, right, for a day or a night, it's okay. And obviously, I was really conscious of the kids, didn't want
mm
them to get scared, so it was like trying to be composed and keep make sure they were okay and all of that.
mm
And they were absolute heroes. They were brilliant. Like all five of us were sleeping in the same room, and it was fine. But when that goes on then for an extended period,
hmm
and your third day of nothing but cold sandwiches and you're just like, no, this isn't it. I just can't. And then I was freezing cold, and it was just so everything was being tested.
hmm And just for context, I'm assuming that you've got electric heating then. Is that how you get your heat? So
Yeah,
you
so
literally had nothing. You didn't even have the ability to cook food. There was no gas supply or anything like that.
no get we've got no gas, we've got no like Rayburn or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all electricity, so we literally had nothing. Some of the local like neighbors and stuff have generators because they're like farms and things. We
Uh-huh.
didn't have anything, but yeah, it was really bad. And then I was in bed and I was like really, really, really cold, and I was going, my poor grandmother, she's gonna be like she's very elderly, and I was like, she's gonna be in an even worse situation because she lives by herself and everything. And we decided on the Sunday that we were going to brave it and try and get to her house because there were trees down everywhere. And it was just like, look, I need to go see that she's okay. And at least that'll give me some peace of
Mm-hmm.
mind if I know she's all right and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
here she's sitting in her living room with the TV going and the heat going, all the things. And it was so lovely. Like her power had came on before ours. And it was so nice to see that she was safe and well and happy, completely oblivious that anything had even happened. And we are like, thank goodness. But so we ended up spending some time with her, which was really nice. But that was after 3 days of nothing, and it was stressful. And then say when you're trying to compartmentalize your own fear and your own discomfort, I suppose, and prioritizing your kids' well-being and making sure they're okay, it becomes very. I know we've talked about the tracks and the
Mm.
train tracks and all that, but all my tracks were hurtling towards the dead end at that point. I was just like, I can't. Obviously, then with my grandmother and stuff, she then lost her internet, and she has a like a panic button, like a safety alarm.
Oh, okay.
She lives by herself, and that's all hooked into the internet and the phone and everything. She's now has no phone and no internet still. Horrible situation for her. So trying to prioritize her and make all the calls for her to make sure everybody knows how serious her situation is and everything. Rather than get consumed by my own fear, I was trying to like focus on tasks and make for other people and stuff. So now I'm just like, oh my goodness, we're back home, we've got our power and our internet back and everything. But I'm just like, I just can't. I can't adult. I can't, I just need some time to pause. But actually pausing is not what I need. I need to get back to normal because staying in that bubble of fear and anxiety and frustration is not good for anybody.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this is exactly what I need today.
Yeah, I mean, but compartmentalizing is a little bit like masking, but in an extreme
Mhm.
way. So that's an awful long time to be keeping that facade up,
Mhm.
essentially.
Yeah,
So I can understand why that would be so draining, and it's like a constant thing. You don't have your own space as well, especially if you're staying with somebody else,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and then
So
I didn't have the normal level of independence that I would have either because I couldn't have my chair. Like my powered chair isn't suitable for my granny's house and stuff. So there was so much of that I take for granted every day that just
the
wasn't there.
support, the support that your chair gives you.
Exactly, exactly. Yes, that's it. And then obviously my husband was having to step into that breach essentially. So the
Hmm.
things that he normally does and this kind of headspace and free time that he normally has, and he didn't have either. So it was just like, but look, we got there, and we all still love each other, and it's all good. But man, there was a lot going on
Mm.
behind the scenes, like to keep everything ticking over, and then trying to work in the midst of all of that as well. I work from home, obviously, online and everything, and essentially not being able to do that or very limited with patchy mobile signal was just, yeah, it was a lot. I realized that I'm more resilient than I thought I was, first of all, but actually what I've realized as well is the amount of power that takes,
Hmm.
the amount of battery, like social battery and, like I said, executive function and all the things that you just take for granted. But then when it's in overdrive,
Hmm.
whoa, this is so much. And I feel like if I really sat and thought about it, I might never properly recover from it. So that's why I'm like, okay, I just need to jump back in and do the things and get some form of normal life back again because otherwise it's a lot.
Hmm. Hmm. It's almost like it's kind of you've got the battery backup type of thing. And then once that's gone, you're just like, well, I'm running on empty now. What do I
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then when you think about all the things that could have been like it was a bad situation, but there was so many things that could have been worse, and so many people who were worse off and stuff. And then you start to think about that, and then it's just like, no.
That's the thing. You can't compare yourself. That's I suppose that's another thing of even with neurodivergent, you can't compare yourself
Mhm.
because it's not fair. Everybody's experiences are valid, and just because somebody's worse off doesn't mean that your experience are not valid as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like I get where that kind of train of thought comes from, but it is not productive.
Mm.
And I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No, you're absolutely right. But what I realized, like, I'm like the reframe queen, and I can always try to put a positive slant on pretty much everything that happens, like in life normally. When my own base is solid and I have the resources and the structure and everything that I need to properly function,
Hmm.
what I realized was take away one or two key elements of that solid base structure, i.e., my communication network and my basic like heat and light and basic things that we need to be well. The negativity doesn't take long to creep back in again. and the old narratives and stuff come bubbling to the surface pretty fast. I would say definitely I have done a lot of work on myself and I've come a long way from where I was, but the
Mm-hmm.
old narratives are still there. It's just my life now has allowed me to turn the volume down on them, but take
Mm-hmm.
me out of my normal daily life.
Mm-hmm.
The tracks are very much still playing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that was really interesting for me as well to see and to not to go straight back into it again, but to almost observe that and go, oh, this could really pull me under if I let it, but I'm not going to allow it to, and just like, this is only a moment in time. It's only a temporary thing. It's not my new life. It's just for now. And to be able to observe it, but actually, it was quite scary to see how close it was in the background. It's like, oh, I thought that was long gone, but it's still there.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know you've not listened to the the episode that I just pulled out of thin air. But that's actually one of the things we spoke about on our voice notes. We were talking about, well, the point here, I've got like a transcript there. It's kind of like about what if being unshakable is not about having doubts, but about moving forward anyway, and exploring the differences between innate confidence and learned resilience.
Mhm.
So I do wonder, off the back of that, the people who have that sort of confidence or who don't have that niggling in the back of their mind, if they're kind of essentially if their foundations were shaken at all, would they also end up like in that kind of, oh wait a minute, and like self-doubt and things like that as well, you know?
I don't know. I kind of feel like self doubt is one of the key traits of the human condition. I don't think there's a person on this planet unless you are some kind of the word that I was going to say was psycho, but that's probably not what I meant. But unless you have some sort of personality disorder where you don't have a normal brain. Well, not no, not normal. We don't talk about normal, but you know what I mean. Like unless you are,
It's almost like lacking empathy. Is that what
yeah,
you're going with? Yeah.
yeah. What is that? Narcissist? Yeah, I guess narcissist.
To a point, yeah.
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 I do believe that self doubt on some level is a natural part of the human condition. I really do. And I think the people who have it nailed and the people who we would view as successful and like powerful and strong and just have learned to, like I say, turn down the volume on it to the
Hmm.
point where it's still there, but it's not running the show.
So it's not main character anymore.
Definitely not main character energy, definitely not. Yeah, I do think unless you are crazy on some scientific level, everybody has that. Because even like I've been in obviously I work in corporate and I've been to a lot of like events for really powerful people. Some of the most powerful, in inverted commas, people in the world are speaking and they still talk about imposter syndrome. They still talk about at what point am I going to get found out? People are
Mm.
going to realize eventually that I'm only one step ahead of you. I don't actually know everything. So I do think everybody has it, and the people who are successful in life just know how to navigate it and they don't give it the driving seat
Hmm.
to be in the boot rather than in the passenger seat. You
Stay in
know,
the booth.
I believe that anyway, but whether it's true or not.
Yeah, it would be interesting to ask people.
And then that brings me to the whole thing of like, what is success? Because I don't consider myself particularly successful, but then other people look at me and go, hang on a second. And they start listing out all this stuff. And I'm like, actually, if you were telling me all those things, I'd be going, wow, you've completed life. Like this is brilliant. But yeah, it's funny how we view ourselves and our own successes differently to other people's.
But I also think it's a bit, let's go with screwy how success is measured in society actually. Well, in Western society, I can only speak for my experience, I suppose. Because if somebody has a business, like I, for example, have a friend who's actually just closed their business and they ran a really successful wee shop, but it's just not part of their future life plans. But it was a really successful business. but it just isn't what they're going to do next. But a lot of people go, oh, this is closed down. Why is this closed down? And it's not seen as that success, you know? I find it odd that some people would view that as, oh, that was a failure. That didn't work out. Oh, better luck next time, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a whole nother thing. What is it with people thinking because you have a business that you're rich, that you have loads of money? Maybe that's an Irish thing, I don't know. But people assume because you have a business, you have loads of money and like, oh sure, you know, and you're like, no, that's not. But
Oh, okay.
but
Yep.
also it's like that, like you say, that friend of yours, just that you know the business was doing great, but it just wasn't part of their future. It wasn't lighting them up anymore, whatever it was, and they want to change. People are, and again, as humans, a lot of people are scared of change. So they think when you set up a business, that's you for life. You know, you've made that
Mm.
decision, that's what you're going to be, and they put you in that box for life. Then if you want to try and deviate from that or go, I mean, I'm a perfect example. I finally got a job after 20 years in corporate that I really, really love. And the thought of deviating from that or going somewhere different terrifies me. Now, I know at some point the universe is going to boot me up the backside and go, time for more or time for something different. But I don't like change. I'm Taurus. I don't like change. I like to be happy. I like good things in life. I feel like I've got a good thing and I don't want to change for now. Flip side is I hate boring, stagnant routine. So it's like, you know, come on, what do you actually want? And that's what they say. Be careful what you say and be careful what you wish for because the universe is listening.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Mm-hmm.
funny. People, I do think people kind of go, right, okay, you know, like say for example, if you're a teacher or you work in a bank or something like that, well, that's you, that's your identity, that's your thing. And then if you say I want to go and open a, I don't know, a surf school in Australia, they're like, "You what now?
Mm-hmm.
Like what? Are you crazy?" Like, and if you're
Yeah.
following your heart, then you can't really get it too wrong. But people like to pigeonhole people and put them in boxes and label them with certain characteristics or professions or whatever, and then like if you try to say, hang on, no, I want to do something different, it's like, no, that's not part of the script. What, like,
That's really funny actually, because I always have a problem like when somebody goes, "Oh, what do you do?" and I'm like, "Well, a lot of things."
exactly.
Because I don't have any, it's difficult for me to go, oh yeah, this sentence covers me. This is why I think we had so many problems figuring out what I need to say, what I am, what I do. But it actually reminds me of when I was in the job center when I used to work in construction and they tried to change our contracts and I said no, I'm not signing a 0 hour contract and they said, okay, then your other contract's finished, you're done.
Oh,
Anyway, that's a whole other story. That was me
oh
mega
my
sticking to my
goodness.
principles because I was like, I'm not having this. That's not okay. That was in start of 2016. I've done a lot of different things. And I went to the job center because at that point we also had, was it the oil crash that we had? Because I used to live in Aberdeen, oil capital of Europe. It has a huge impact on all the jobs. Yeah, it was difficult to get a job at that point. So anyway, found myself in the job center and the guy that end up being assigned to or whatever. He was really great. And he was like, he looked at what, my CV, what I've done, and he's like, so you've got this experience, you've got this admin experience, you've got like this construction experience, he was listing everything and it's like, and then you've got a valid CSCS card, and which is the construction industry, you need to have this to go on site, safe health and safety stuff, right? I'm like, yes. Yeah. He's like, okay, well I've never encountered this before.
Wow. Wow, awesome.
That was interesting. He was, as I said, he was a really lovely guy. He was very encouraging. It was quite fun because he was like, I actually want you to meet this other advisor person because like your CV is just so varied. It's really incredible.
That's class.
Again, that was kind of like looking back, I'm like, maybe this is actually a sign of ADHD.
Yeah, I want to be you when I grow up, basically, because you have all the passions, but you also have the depth of the passions. So you go all in and you learn all the things, and you like you're almost expert level in all your passions. Whereas I'm like, yeah, I love this and I love this and I love this, but I'm only going to scratch the surface and then I'll get bored and then I'll move on to the other thing. And I never go all in on anything. The only thing that I've ever gone all in on I would say, is my family, and that's. But in terms of like learning a skill or making something my thing, I've only ever scratched the surface on all the things. I don't think so. I want to be you, because not only do you get passionate about something, but you really go to town on the detail, and you become an expert on the thing.
Some people could say I'm wasting my time.
Not at all. No way.
When am I ever going to do this other thing that I learned how to do? I don't know.
Because when I sit and I think about all the things that I've dabbled in, or maybe qualified in, but never really gone the extra bit to really finesse it, I would say. Like, oh my God, I've done so many things, got so many certificates, but I couldn't hang my hat in any of them. It's like there's not enough of any of it to be of consequence at
Mm,
all. Such a waste.
no, I don't think it is a waste. I think that everything that you do kind of impacts on your next decision or your understanding of the world as well, and how you relate to people as well. I don't think that it is a waste to do any of these things, especially if you've really enjoyed them, even if it's just for
Yeah.
enjoyment's sake. I don't think that's fair on past Sarah.
Yeah, I mean that's true. That's true. But I guess when I look at what my life could be
Mm,
based on
mm,
all the doors that I've opened for myself, and then going, nah, I'm close to making it. Like, but then I wouldn't change anything for the world, because, like I say, my family are my world, and every single thing that I've done or not done has led me to them and led me to here and now. So I wouldn't change it. But yeah, it's interesting. Thank you for listening. Today we talked about resilience, executive function, and lack of. That I'm finally had my power and internet restored. Yay!
yay!
The importance of friendship and being multi-passionate.
And that there's nothing wrong with dabbling.
Yeah,
Sarah did not look convinced there.
we probably agree to disagree on that one.
No.
For now.
You can find us across our social media channels, ADHT the podcast on Threads. Probably best to get us there. And we do also have Instagram, which I kind of have ignored now. We're kind of on there-ish. And you can find me over on Unravel Tea socials. And Sarah is on Wheelie Mama, mostly on TikTok.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.